Welcome back. We are talking about ourselves management. So, in this idea of managing ourselves, some people ask, but I procrastinate. I'm actually a pro at procrastination. So, how can I, why does that happen? Explain. Now, some of the common reasons why people procrastinate is that they have trouble getting started. They just don't have either the biological reason to start with a task, meaning they don't see the benefit in it, it's not part of their goals. And if that is the case, it means that we need to try and get either the dopamine going, meaning we need to find a purpose in this task, we need to set up goals. So we need to try and find the value in the task. Why would I do this task? So the trouble getting started, it's a reason that oftentimes comes to the front. Also lacking motivation. So when we speak about motivation, Pink once said long ago that motivation, a lack of it or an increase of it, actually comes down to three ideas. You having seen purpose in this task, you having autonomy, but also you being good at it, like mastery. Where you put these three circles together, that is where motivation lies. So if you're procrastinating, maybe you don't see the purpose in the task. Maybe you're not good at the task. Maybe it's unclear to you, which is also a reason for procrastination. Or maybe there's no autonomy in this, where you don't feel that you can actually have any control over the situation. Maybe you're just not interested in this task. Why should you do it? You don't see the benefit in it. And the nice thing about this is, whatever your reason for procrastination is, we will have to sit down by ourselves and we need to ask this question, but why am I procrastinating? Because the reason why you're procrastinating is also the question that you need to ask. Why should I do this task? And if you get an answer, you will start being invested in this. Okay. Otherwise, you might see it as irrelevant or meaning nothing to you, no meaning in contribution or anything in your life. So we'll have to find out, but is this task relevant or not? And then it might seem too difficult or time consuming. Now, personally, I think that the Cornell outline method of summary is the best way to summarize information. Doesn't matter what your learning style is, I think that's the starting block for all of us. And if we make summaries, it will save you so much time. But people don't summarize. And if they don't summarize, they're missing out on other abilities that they never would have known if they didn't summarize. So if you want to become good at public speaking, you'll have to start summarizing. But that's another discussion for another day. But it seems too difficult to summarize, for an example, or too time consuming. But the thing is, if you do the Cornell outline method technique of summarizing, it shouldn't take more than 10 minutes. If you're spending more than 10 minutes on a summary, somewhere you're missing the point. Okay. And then one of the common reasons also is you are afraid of failing or getting low grades. And the funny thing is that many times the fears we have actually come true because we act on it. If I'm scared that my neighbor won't like me and I avoid my neighbor is not going to like me. He's going to think I'm better than him or so. So the idea of not procrastinating is trying to do this task you're scared of, even knowing you're scared of this task, even knowing you might fail. But if you follow this idea of being proactive, it actually enables you to submit assignments, do tasks, do jobs, do things sooner, so that if there's a mistake you can fix it. But if you wait until the last minute that you have to do it anyway, now there's no wiggle room, now you are stuck. And I think printers and traffic, they just don't work on due dates. So if you're going to procrastinate until the due date, your failure will most probably be realistic, and that's sad. So we need to try and move past this procrastination. Then Sometimes we also feel overwhelmed by too many things. If this is the case, then it means that there's just too many things that you've said yes to, and you've cluttered your life so much that you just you're overwhelmed. And in this case, you need to start saying no to things that doesn't fit into these quadrants as we mentioned, or the time perspectives of your own life. And not trying to be selfish, but just trying to find what's your vision in life. So after creating a vision board, it's just so necessary to find out, but what's the task that actually thinks that's going to contribute in my life. And in the other situation, sometimes we feel overwhelmed because of some other reasons. Maybe we feel anxious about a task. And then I would like you to try and write down everything that overwhelms you. Because oftentimes our brain, having it in here, makes it bigger than it really is. Not to be flippant, but just trying to say, if you write down everything that overwhelms you, oftentimes it doesn't exceed more than 4 things. And if you write it down, now it's visible, now we can do something about it. But if it stays in here, it just grows and grows, and it makes us unable to move. It just saps our energy, it drains us. And then you think you have too little skill or knowledge to handle this task. If that is the case, we need to ask questions like, what is the skill requirement for this task? So what will I be able to need to complete this task? And this might sound so strange, but I actually met someone once that had to create something simplistic. And the simplistic something, let's say it's a summary, took this person 1 month to complete. And afterwards I asked this person, so how long do you think this paper, if you look at it now, how long do you think this is worth? How much time? And the person said 10 minutes. And that's what procrastination does. It makes something that could have lasted, should have taken only 10 minutes, to take a month. That's horrible. So procrastination, it's a big thing that's just keeping our lives, blocking us to get to where we want to go. Okay, and sometimes we're not clear of what's being expected of us, and then we just need to ask. And asking questions is a good thing. It's where we actually take control of our lives, of our learning process. So we need to try and find out these answers to the questions we have for our own understanding. So just some ways to combat procrastinations. You need to try and focus on the advantages of completing a task, how much freer your life would be. And if it's a big task, break it up into smaller pieces. And then maybe you need a reward just to get the dopamine going in your brain, saying, but there's a reward waiting for you. Now this is a good idea. It depends on what the reward is. I don't think we should reward ourselves with sugar, because sugar will just sap your energy again and it will make you tired. So, but that's each one to their own. I just think we need to try and find out the reward. Is it something that's really rewarding you, or is it something that's going to be blocking you? That's lekker, nice, but not good. And then schedule enough time. We need to schedule time to do these activities. And just like with a budget, we need to think worst case scenario with a budget. So if you think you're going to spend 500 Rand on food this month, make it 600 Rand, so that you have wiggle room. So just with time as well, try to schedule extra time so that you don't run out of time. And then we need to try and get organized. So daily planner, we need to get a daily planner. And when we speak about organizing, planning is so vital. Some of the militaries in the world, they have the 5 Ps, which stands for proper planning prevents poor performance. That's something they have to do. They have to have proper plans going. And when committing to a task, we need to have the attitude of confidence. And this refers to self-efficacy again, where if you think you won't be able to do a task, you won't. But if you think, no, let's try, maybe I can do this, maybe not yet, but I can. somewhere in the 60, 70 years I have on earth, somewhere I'll be able to do this. So let's start salon. If you have an attitude of confidence, things becomes easier. Now, I need to give you some stats just to make it more realistic for us. So if you're going to live until if you're going to live your life until 70, if you reach the age of 70, it means that if you are 20 years old, you have 2,500 weekends left of your life. If you're 50 years old, you have 2,000. If you're 40 years old, you have 1,500 weekends left. If you're 50 years old, you have 1,000. If you're 60 years old, you have 500 weekends left of your life. Now, if you only live for the weekends, luckily there's 2 days in a weekend. So it means you can take the amount of weekends, times it by 2, and that's how long your life will be. But if you live for every day, that means 7 out of 7 days, you can multiply it by 7. So all of a sudden you have tremendous amount of time. But if you only live for the weekends to really be alive, your life is going to be too short. Okay? But let's try it this way. Let's say that you live until the age of 75. Then it means you have close to 40 million minutes. This is how many seconds that is. Okay? But the average life in South Africa is 66, which means this is the amount of minutes. This is the amount of seconds you have. But you weren't born just now. No. You're about 20 years old, which means this is how many minutes you have already lived. This is how many minutes you have lived. This is how many seconds that is. Ticking away, just like that. Okay? We cannot just live for weekends. Okay? You just don't have enough time. There's this book, it's called the 5 a.m. Club, and the 5 a.m. Club, it says, but let's try and do it like this. Let's wake up at 5 o'clock, and then the first 3 activities you should do is this. Spend 20 minutes exercising, then 20 minutes spending time with God or your spirituality, and then 20 minutes learning something new. And if we spend our time like this, the first hour of your day, it's usually called the golden hour. If you spend it like this, usually these 3 things are the things that we are most of the time it's the things that we are complaining about. So if you exercise, you spend time religiously, and also if you learn something new where we feel we stagnate and we feel disconnected, we feel we don't exercise. If you do these things the first hour of your day, it's like it's pushing you forward, and your life, all of a sudden you just open up so much capacity to do new things. Now, in another book, it's called Atomic Habits, it said we have this idea that when we start something, let's say like a diet or exercising, we expect this trajectory of it's going to get easier. But this is not true. For human beings, this is not true. No. This is what happens to us. Right? We have this slow curve, and then all of a sudden it shoots up. Now, this slow curve, it's called the valley of disappointment. That's usually when people stop doing something. So start exercising after 2 weeks, there is no difference, and we just quit. We start dieting after a week, no change, we just quit. And it's because we are in this place where we don't get any idea that this something is working. So it's, let's just leave it. But if you can just stick to it, this thing will shoot up. And the same with if we do the 5 a.m. club. In the beginning, it's going to be not that great. But with any human being, nice thing we want to do, that's good for us, this is what you need to expect. Okay, so we need to try and manage ourselves differently. So it's not time management, it's me, myself management. That's what the point is.